All right, what's going on, everyone? Here back with episode 2 of Yapping, joined by Grant as always. Not as many topics to talk about this week, but definitely, I guess, like a pretty big one. Probably one that's probably more controversial, or I don't know, maybe more talked about. More people are getting involved. It's a little bit more heated of a topic, I guess, than anything we talked about last week. And then there is also the control at locals topic as well. So we got like the events, control at locals. But how are you doing, Grant? How was your week? How you feeling about the Poke drama this week?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. A little tired. We've got College World Series here in Omaha, so I've got some clients in town, and makes for some long days out in the heat. Yeah, I think the topics are pretty dry compared to what we've seen in the past. But for the show, I think a lot of them probably came from our conversation last week. To be honest, we talked about it, about the regionals and the locations. I did a little bit of research and put together some information that might be useful in navigating this conversation.
Okay. Yeah, so that's gonna be like the what top? That's gonna be the more heated, not heated. We're not gonna have a heated probably debate about it, but it's the topic that's more hotly contested. Not hotly contested. I don't think anyone's like really arguing anything, but it's what is the word I'm looking for?
Controversial?
Controversial. Sensitive. Sensitive is maybe the word. Sensitive.
Sure.
That's the word I want to say, I think. So do you want to start with that, or do you want to start with control at locals?
We can do control at locals. I mean, you're obviously an expert at local gameplay. It started with a meme account, or somebody posted it, and then a meme account retweeted saying control at locals is cringe, right?
Yeah, so I'll pull up the original tweet here so we can all look at it. So Aurora or Golden, hang on, make sure I got that right. Okay, yeah, Golden Gumi was with the original tweet. Not gonna lie, I want to play Control more, but I really don't want people to hate me at locals. Is what they said.
A fair statement. A very fair statement.
Yeah, I feel like that. Yeah, I feel like that's not a terrible statement. And then the follow up, I think that started most of the controversy or got people into the conversation was King of TCGs. And you said you think they're a troll account?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not sure if they are or not, but from the other tweets I've seen from them, they're always trying to start some kind of. It feels like they want a reaction or something.
We're not talking politics here. We're not yapping about politics. That's for a different day. But it's a highly right-leaning, retweet and comment channel. So
yeah, and they replied, "Anyone who plays control at locals is incredibly cringe. Of course, it's a deck that can be said about any deck that's ever existed. It's just a lame way to ruin someone else's local." Fortinet,
fair statement.
Fortinet replied, "The exact reason to play the exact reason to play it at locals. Nobody expects it, so it's an amazing choice if you're looking to win. Other than that, same as any other deck, you shouldn't be hated, and it's certainly not cringe. Part of the game that just takes skill and deck building to work around." And we can jump to a couple more replies here. I'm gonna pull up the reply from Eliza. Sheet posts. Eliza on Twitter. Control at locals take. If your locals is low/0 stakes or casual, don't roll up with control. Not because people will hate you, but because that environment will not be good practice for you. If you're going for fun, my horrible take is in the replies. I love control, playing it as or against it, but most people don't. If you roll up to locals with control for fun, you have to expect the fact that your fun will come at others' expense. Should it? No. It's part of the game, plus encourages creative thinking, but it does, and it sucks. Patricia replied as well. But playing control at locals also helps to get used to play against them. And then when they go to a bigger tournament, they have at least a plan on how to approach the match. I think having a control player in every locals should be a must to get people to face those decks. So it's almost like the reply from Patricia is kind of fun. It's like forced training. It's like, I know you don't like this, but you're gonna. It's like I don't know, it's like punishment. Like if like your kids like they have to go do their chores or something. It's like you're showing up to locals, now you have to play against the control player.
Yeah, I watched you the last match you played against Control. I'm like, oh, I'm done with this. Like,
Yeah.
it's so it is boring and monotonous, but it is part of the game. And so that brings up whether taking control of locals is evil. Are you trying to win? That was a great take on it. I think the first time I played against Control at locals, Kieran Wagner brought the Pidgey Control, and and we're having fun. It was fine, but it's like if I had to play this every week, I would probably quit. It is not fun at all. But it is part, as part of like regional planning, you always have to have some way out. How do you approach that is different. So is it practice at locals? It maybe take it to the ladder, sure. If you're a tryhard, it feels like a sweaty tryhard play, right?
Yeah.
To take it to locals. So I'm leaning towards Eliza's post is pretty accurate, right? If you're low zero stakes, but if you're there for points and you want to be that guy in the room, then that's play sometimes. It's back. It's very popular right now.
Yeah, I think like one thing we should clarify as well. I assume when we're talking about locals, I assume we're all agreeing that locals is like your local weekly tournament at your local shops, not cups or challenges. We're talking about.
Oh, yeah, then no, yeah, don't bring it.
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page from that. From every tweet that I've seen from people talking about it, we're not talking about cups or challenges. We're talking about the local $5 entry. Winner gets whatever store credit or whatever it is, and that's what we're talking about. That's what, from every tweet that I've seen, we all seem to be on the same page. I don't think anyone has explicitly said we're obviously not talking about cups and challenges, but that was my understanding, and I haven't seen like it be that different from what other people have said. So I assume we're not talking about cups and challenges. I'll read one more response here from Liam. I disagree with this. I disagree with a lot of the sentiment this week on control decks. They are, for the most part, much less enjoyable to play against. We'll explain below. As such, in a for fun environment, bringing a control-centric deck can worsen the experience for other players. Control decks often have a win position where the other player is all but completely lost, and it's optimal for them to just sit there and watch you do your thing for 10 minutes. That is unenjoyable. Against aggro, losing positions typically entail a player stringing combos on consecutive turns that are at high percentage, but still have realistic misses. Testing them feels worthwhile and carries an element of suspense/tension. So yeah, I think people, for the most part, in this one, because my opinion on this is that I think it is cringe to play control decks at locals. And someone brought up in chat, are we talking Pidgey control or are we talking Quadlax? And I think both fit the criteria.
Stall, control,
Yeah.
mill, kind of all fits in that same basket.
I think mill's a little bit different because like even like Liam said, like mill, there's a little bit more back and forth, right? Do they get your last card? Do they not? The last card you need to like win the game.
The last iteration though is like, get down on prices and counter catcher, something into the active and mill.
Yeah. And I think people are just like, one of my biggest takeaways from this, I think people are getting too offended at the word cringe. It's not that serious. The word cringe is not that serious. Like,
Right.
And I think playing Quadlax at the local $5 weekly is cringe. I think it is cringe because like no one wants to play against Quadlax. I don't like playing against Quadlax, and I just use it. I use it to win. I might be the only one who's won a tournament with Quadlax. No, has there anyone else won with Quadlax? No, there was a win in Europe. Like, I've won a major tournament with Quadlax, but I think playing Quadlax at like locals is like that's super cringe. Like it just is cringe. No one wants to play against it for the most part. Obviously, there's going to be the outliers. But whenever when I say everyone. I hate that I have to clarify this, but I feel like I have to like head off the people in chat sometimes. I obviously don't mean everyone. I'm sure there's someone out there who wants to test against Quadlax or is fine playing against Quadlax, and it's not as unenjoyable for them. Sure, we're talking about the average player probably does not want to play against Quadlax, and I think the other control is like not too far from Quadlax, right? Like the win conditions for the opponent are pretty boring. You're pushing up Mimikyu a lot. You're just spamming Eerie at them, penny looping. Like, even if it is Pidgeot control, which has more win conditions, different ways to win than Quadlax, it's still pretty boring for the opponent of the deck.
Yeah, I'm more concerned. Like at the there's a comment in chat on the Twitch side. The son was learning control or learning Pokemon and face control, and that can be an experience ruiner for you. You show up and you see that and like, this is how we play. But on the flip side of things, you bring control and you lose, you're just getting like, stepped on by, like, everyone's so happy that the control player lost. Like, how debilitating is it when you show up, you're like, all right, I'm gonna bring this, I'm gonna win, I'm gonna try it out, and everyone's just watching your downfall and rooting for it. It takes a different mentality to play control, obviously, or to fall into that. Like, I don't do it. Me personally, I'm trying to get 3 games in, and I'm trying to get them in like 40 minutes max. Like, I'm getting my break between each round. So it's Lugia. It was like Turbo Arceus. I don't play till time.
Yeah.
So you have to be crazy. First off, just to bring it to locals. Like, unless your locals like want you to bring it. Gamers in chat, he played control. It's like, do you want to test? I'm like, no, not really. It's just not fun. But winning and losing, it is so polarizing on both sides. So at the locals level, yeah, okay. So I brought up earlier challenges or cups. Yeah, it's a decision to make. A meta call. Your win was a meta call. But yeah, locals should be fun. That's where you try out new stuff and you play the game more.
Yeah, and I feel like competitive players, especially like I think Patricia's comment comes from that lens of like a competitive player. And I even see Jesse Parker in chat playing versus control builds character. Control has been part of the game since base set. But like the people who go to locals, it's like super casual. Like, a lot of them aren't playing for their World's Invite. They're just like playing to show up and play locals. Like, they're super casual players. Like, a lot of them are. And now Jesse did bring up a point. Full grip locals are $10 entry, so you're playing for like $100 store credit. That probably is a breaking point where it's like it no longer becomes cringe to play a control deck, right? Like at 1Ks or 1Ks plus for sure, and maybe even a little bit under that as well, I guess. Because I guess Jesse does have a fair point with that, where it's like, okay, at a certain point, even if it's not an official sanctioned tournament, a cup or a challenge, there's a breaking point where it probably doesn't become cringe. But where it's like super laid back casuals, $5 entry, I feel like you can still do it. No one's saying you can't do it, but you can do something that's also cringe, right? It's okay for it to be both.
Yeah, I guess. If you're bringing something different, if you're bringing like the highest, result control deck, it's like, all right, that's just kind of sweaty and kind of frowned upon in general. I mean, I'd frown upon it, and I'll tell them, like, I have no problem with that. It's like, well, here we go. We're sitting here for 30 minutes now to see if you can do whatever you're trying to do, versus having an interactive game on a Thursday night.
Yeah. More messages from Jesse that I'll bring up and from chat. We use locals to practice. If a control isn't allowed, then what the fuck is the point? And then also, if someone gets upset at a deck they don't know how to beat, that's their problem. I mean, I don't think people are getting like overly upset. It just kind of it ruins the mood. Like the super like the more casual atmosphere that you kind of go to these local tournaments for, right? And it's like control decks or quad decks don't need to be that much more try hard or sweaty, right? Because like, if you roll up with like the best Charizard deck when Charizard was like the best deck in the format, or lost Tina, would people look at you as being more try hard or sweaty? Not really, but it's the style of the deck that makes like the big difference, I feel like, overall. Control is a valid strategy. I don't get it unless the tournament allows to choose the opponents. Yeah, no one's saying control, but that's what I'm saying. I feel like the competitive players don't get it, because y'all are coming at us with like these takes of like control is a valid strategy, or what was some of like the stuff Jesse was saying is like you want to be able to practice against control, to get better control. That's not the point. The point is like the general atmosphere is pretty chill and laid back, and people, like, I've even said this before, playing quadlax, if you play against quadlax or you play quadlax, it doesn't feel like you're playing Pokemon. And Control does shift a little bit into that realm as well. There was another deck recently where I felt that way. That wasn't like a control-based deck. But it doesn't feel like you're playing Pokemon. It just doesn't. And people want to show up to play in a casual local tournament to play Pokemon. So when all of a sudden they're not playing Pokemon, it doesn't feel good. It feels kind of bad. It kind of ruins
This is
the
your
mood.
hobby. Your hobby is playing Pokemon, and you go on a weekday night to play with your friends, and you're not having fun. That's a terrible hobby to have.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think anyone's saying you can't do it or you shouldn't do it, and that's not what we're saying. But I think labeling it cringe, I think that's fair. I think that's a proper use of the label cringe in 2024.
Yeah, you have to be ready to be judged, and not the card. Judged by your peers when you show up with Control at a locals.
Yeah. I feel like that's fair. I feel like they can understand it's part of the game, but if they're playing for fun and you roll up with Control and they complain about not having fun, can you really be shocked they're unhappy? I feel like they can understand it's part of the game. If they're playing for fun and you roll up with Control and they complain about not having fun, can you really be shocked they're unhappy? Yeah, I think Eliza's getting at, because Eliza's in chat right here. I think basically kind of restating what we just said there. I'm trying to see if there's any other takes from chat that are worth bringing up.
Yeah, nobody wanting to call in on this topic.
Yeah, if anyone wants to call in and make us and like argue their point or like kind of make their point more clear, make a statement, feel free.
I feel the person that wants to vouch for Control, hop in here and get ready to be judged.
Anyways, against it hasn't felt the pure thrill of saying Pokegear, take Eerie, play Eerie, take Prime Catcher. I want to call in. And if you do want to call in, just wait in the waiting room. If you are looking to call in, wait in the waiting room. And then I see this real fast so I can actually see names. I see your statement there in the chat, Armar.
Yeah, we can get to that later.
Yeah, if it's a call in about the current topic, feel free to go to the waiting room now. If you're looking to call in about a different topic we're not currently talking about, we'll take those at the end of our topic list.
Yep.
But I think that kind of covers the topic from our stance on both ends. I see Mailman just joined the waiting room. I'm not sure who they are in chat if they're trying to get in right now.
Yeah, leave a message in the chat if what you want to call in about.
Yeah, leave a message in the... maybe I should make like a second Discord channel that says like call in... I'm just going to do that right now. Like, call it like call in questions or something. Call in questions. And then that way anyone who wants to call in can leave their questions there. Yeah, we're still trying to figure this out. We're not quite...
Yeah, the lines are filling up.
All right, so if you want to call in about like a current topic, just leave a message in the call-in questions or topics and say you want to call in about whatever the topic is that we're currently talking about, you want to call in about. Or if you want to call in about a topic we're not talking about, then leave that in the questions and call-ins topics still, and then we'll try and get to those towards the end of the show. But yeah, I think that kind of covers this one. Unless you have something else you want to say about it.
No, I'm already over Control.
All right. Well, actually, JR said he wanted to call in, so we'll drag him in.
All right.
All right. So I should have this all set up correctly, and we should be able to hear him as soon as I drag him in here. All right. What's up, JR?
Hey, how's it going, guys? How are you?
Doing good. How about you?
Great.
It's good.
All right. Floor is yours. What side are you on? And then what is your, I don't know, argument for or against Control at locals?
So I'm on the side of, I don't think it's in the best interest of a player to bring Control, simply because and I've seen this at full disclosure, I work with a store locally, and we just got approved for play Pokemon events, and they have expressed a desire not to allow Control for the immediate future, simply because a lot of newer people are getting into the game, and they're trying to encourage people to, play more competitively. And this store is their prizing structure is very much like, if you take a tie, that's a loss. And I think a lot of locals do that based on the play Pokemon structure. So for me, it's not in the best interest of a person to bring control to an event, a local event, because you're basically dooming both players to a loss, because it's in the best interest of the opponent to either take all 6 prizes, or if they're unable to do that, to stretch out the game beyond time and take a tie, because that forces the Snorlax player to also lose, or whatever control that they're taking. So I just feel like it's almost like you're bringing it to practice, but are you practicing to tie? Because that's what in most cases we've seen at our store it ends up being. So both players will just take the tie, and now they're unable to compete for top prizing at that store, at that event. Prizing being X0 is top prizing, and X1 is second, third, and fourth prizing.
And I assume this is not sanctioned tournaments, right? Like just local.
No, they are sanctioned. Yeah, they're sanctioned tournaments.
It's like cups and challenges.
No, well, it's cups and challenges, but also events that just where for example, the June events with the promo, Buddy Poffin, Super Rod, and TM Evolution. Those are play Pokemon events, and they're local, and so that's another. Depending on your placement on the day, you have the prizing would be either store credit and an X number of promos, play Pokemon promos. So I think those sort of things are, you're restricting both players by coming with control in events that are prized in that way. I don't know if all events are like that. In my area, which is the Greater Toronto area, pretty much every local store is like that.
Some say Toronto's got the best local scene.
It is. You know what? It's a lot of fun, and certain stores are sweatier than others. But I would say that even those stores, they kind of frown on control, simply because it takes away from the experience of everyone, not just the opponent of the control player, but now you're affecting the end prize results. Because you're basically forcing a tie, right? Like if I were to roll up and play against a control player, and I know, if I try to exercise all my outs to win the match or to win the game, but I'm unable to do it, then it's in my best interest to just keep as many cards in my deck as possible, and then it goes to time and both people tie.
Are these the store owners or like the TO, like a separate?
Not the tournament organizers. So these are like the store owners who are trying to get younger kids in, or stuff like that.
So
So the TOs they don't have an opinion really. I mean, they're very objective.
They shouldn't have an opinion.
No, they don't. But they often, if someone were to come, they're the ones who have to deal with the situation, right? If there's a complaint or if there's a escalation. And so I kind of feel bad for them. That's another reason why my opinion is thus, because I feel bad for the tournament organizers who have to put up with people who escalate.
Okay, so let me get this straight, just so because I think people in chat are
you're getting destroyed in chat.
Yeah, but I don't think
or the TO or
I don't think they understand the scenario. So you're not the TO, you're not the store owner, but a store that advocates for the idea of people not playing control stall at local tournaments, sanctioned local tournaments. Do they actually enforce it, or is it just something that they don't like? They just like discourage the idea of playing those decks at the tournaments?
No, it's very casual. It's more, it's like, hey guys, we're hosting this event. It's going to be 24 people or less. Just let's try to make it fun. Don't bring something that's going to ruin someone else's day, sort of thing, if you can avoid it. Like, let's have a fun time with it. And they do raffles and things like that. It's to try, and again, they're a new store, very, very new. And I think that's part of it. They don't want to someone in chat had mentioned it before, their kid came and played against control, that sullied the experience for that person.
Yeah, so they're not even not allowing people to play stall or control, but they're just like putting it out there that, hey, with the idea of trying to make this as casual as possible and like get new players into the game. If you don't mind not bringing Quadlax and bringing your next favorite deck, we would prefer.
Yeah,
that.
and keep in mind that they're very open to other types of control. Like Pidgeot control is fine.
So they've
even been fine with it's just Quadlax.
Yeah,
simply because
putting a Snorlax out, you win the game to start. Yeah.
Yeah, it's relegated to quad. Even quad thorns, like with the new Iron Thorns,
Sure.
They're fine with that because it's not as limiting as Quadlax.
Now I have a question. Right. Do they sell singles?
They do, yes.
Okay. Iron Thorns cost more than Snorlax, right?
True. It could be. There could be a reason for that, but I think it's more so about both players being able to actually play and not just sit and wait or wait for the opportunity to make one move and then have your move be set back the next turn with a counter catcher or something like that. So I think that's kind of their goal. Pidgeot control is fine. Even the new Luxray EX has been, those are fun because it takes a level of skill to overcome beyond just trying to find a switch or a way to get out of the active. So I think that's kind of their idea, but it really does come down to the prizing for me personally, because if a person is coming with lax control, you're just giving up. There's no way if the event has 5 rounds, there's no way you're winning 5 rounds, and therefore you're getting prizing. So if all you're doing there is to practice, I think a better option is to get a group of friends together to practice with, rather than come to a local event and then doom everyone you face to potentially no longer be in contention for prizing. Even if the prizing is just those promo cards, they don't really have any value, but it's just a kid who gets a shiny promo is going to feel a lot better than a kid who faces Quadlax first round.
And did you say this was about like the juniors, like the lower levels?
No, it's the June events.
All the way up?
So at our store, we don't even have enough juniors to play in their own division, so they play against masters and seniors.
Yeah, but they get the playmat every time and the card every time, right? Because the one junior shows up, they win their division.
The juniors get one play pack, but they, for prizing, it's still they're treated like masters.
Interesting.
Because so the store being so small, the only way they can have enough people to actually have more than 2 rounds is to group the masters and the juniors together.
I actually don't like. I don't. Is that really that like? So people understand the store is not banning people from playing Quadlax. They just like
no.
ask people to not like. Is that bad to be like, hey, tournament coming up this week? As always, as long as you got like a different deck you can play or bring, we prefer people don't roll up with Quadlax. Is that bad? Is them asking that question of the players coming to the local tournament, is that bad? That doesn't sound that bad to me. I don't know why that's like, because people in chat are making it out to seem like that's a terrible thing. They're not banning the deck. They are just asking people to not play it because, like, once again, because kind of goes back to the thing of like, no one really wants to play against Quadlax, and especially if they're a newer store trying to get newer players into the game. Newer players are rolling up to play Pokemon. They played some games on PTCG Live. Now they're rolling up to play for the first time. They hit a Quadlax deck, and they just get absolutely bodied. I don't think that's like, in my head, that does not sound like a. Now, could it be against TPCI's rules? I guess it could be. I have no idea about that. Is like our store's not allowed to like make that statement. But yeah, I don't think it's a terrible thing for a store to be like, hey, we prefer if people don't bring Quadlax to our tournaments. Obviously, like they're not, but they're not banning it.
Yeah, and so and to be clear, the people haven't really the players haven't really pushed back on that either. They're more so for the most part, I would say 99% of people who they've asked, that of have been, oh yeah, totally, I agree. I don't want to not only ruin someone else's day, but also I don't want to make my job, my life harder trying to get prizing for this event, because the store, is giving out store credit and promos or whatever it is for the prizing, and it comes down to a person relegating their finish to basically not getting prizing because they want to practice a deck, and that's perfectly fine. They can come if they want, but again, it makes no sense to do it at a local scene from a prizing perspective, at least for stores that do. If you take a tie, it's a loss, because as soon as you take one loss, you're now the best you can do is second, third, fourth prizing. If you take one loss in a tournament with 5 rounds, or one tie, sorry, in a tournament with 5 rounds and you're playing quad lax, chances are you're going to tie more than once.
Yeah. All right.
Well, in a 30-minute round.
Okay, I've come down to 2. I'm on the fence here.
Go ahead.
I'm ready to make a ruling. Capitalism for the store. I know you guys do it different up there in Canada. That's fine. However you want to do it. But the capitalism of the store wanting to make more money, get kids into the game, have fun, buy cards, buy singles. That's the economy, right? The local game store economy. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I'm thinking it's the hard knocks. You got to grow up. You bring control, you lose. You don't get into prizing. You're not having fun on your own end. You get beat. Everyone, celebrates your downfall. Maybe you win and no one's cheering for you. That's growing up. That's how you have to do it, right? So I'm balancing the two of those. I'm thinking, you said it's a new store.
Yeah, it's a newer store.
I'm leaning towards capitalism. It's done me well so far. So
more people
good for them. And get people into the game, have fun, sell cards, grow the game, right? That's where I'm at. Where are you at, Azul?
I mean, yeah, that's how I feel about it. I mean, yeah, I don't think they should ban the deck, but I don't think it doesn't seem like a bad thing to ask the people to not show up with quad lax. You just kind of put that out there in the local scene, especially the people who come regularly or people who show up for their bigger tournaments or not. Eliza made had a question in chat. What is the cost to enter that store's events? Eliza saying that's incredibly relevant. I think said a little bit earlier, if it's $10 plus, then whatever people bring is what they bring. There's enough on the line where that becomes a point where Eliza thinks it's fine to get over it. It's more competitive at that point. So yeah, do you know how much they are?
Yes. So we have to keep in mind Canadian dollars. So they're it's basically just paper.
Well, it's like plastic, isn't it? They have plastic.
Yeah, you're right. It's plastic now.
Scented plastic.
So it is in most cases it's $10 Canadian, which is $7 US, $7.50, something like that. And they do allow, I don't know if this is the case in the US, but a lot of stores here especially will allow players to pay for their entry with store credit from a previous tournament or something like that. So it might not even be cash, right? It's just it's and keep in mind that's a tournament with less than 20 people in most cases. So
20 people?
Yeah, less than 20. So and that's including all divisions, so senior, junior, master. So it's very, very local, as in the same people pretty much show up to every event. So I think it's more, maybe I'm seeing it through a bias of it's the same 20 people that come all the time and that all 20 don't want to play lax. But I think the viewpoint from all 20 people is the same in that they want to play for the prizing because they're, the chances are better with less than 20 people. They don't want to A, ruin someone else's chance, and B, ruin their own chances. Because as someone mentioned in chat, 401 is fine to win, but in these local tournaments, tie is a loss. Yeah, is considered a loss. So there's no tie points or anything like that. So if you get a tie, you lose, and if you are X2, you don't get any prizing.
Yeah. Jesse did make a statement in chat. I don't know if he's kind of had his mind change a little bit, and I also saw one from Mello. Mello was like, I've never had a local get mad or annoyed at me playing control. A local cultural thing, which I think is probably true because even Jesse said in chat, I guess it's just store dependent. My locals are a bit more competitive, and I think that probably is true to some extent. I don't go to local tournaments much, or at all anymore, so I can't even think about what my past experience at local tournaments was. But I'm thinking back to when I lived in New England. I think there was some stores where all the best players went to those stores. And so I could see that being a thing. Maybe it is just kind of like a store to store thing, a locals to locals situation.
Yeah, I would say that that's probably accurate. We have bigger stores in the GTA. I'm sure you guys have heard LDF or the other GTA guys talk about them, and those have no issue with controller Willax. And I mean, the people that bring them are few and far between. Again, because I feel like the pricing is on their mind as well. But if someone brought it, there wouldn't be a problem. And those stores are among the sweatier that I mentioned previously. They're it's highly competitive, and the buy-ins for those are like $20 plus, and they have 64 people or maybe 52 or 64 people. Like, these are bigger events, right?
Yeah.
So
that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's my take, gents.
Sure. Yeah, appreciate it. And those are non-CP events, right? They're just your weekly locals. You get 60, someone gets 60, 65 people.
Yeah, and sometimes the events are themed. So, and at these bigger events, so like when Twilight Masquerade launched, they did an early rotation event, right? Like before they were sanctioned legal, and so that event was a huge, like a 60-person tournament. And it was a huge turnout. Like, it sold out in 30 minutes, right? Like, it's a big event, and if you brought lax to that, I mean, you might not be the favorite in the room, but they're not going to stop you.
Yeah.
All right. I have one thing for you. The next time at this new store, the next time somebody brings quad lax, take a picture and tag us, because we want to see it.
I will. And you know what? There are a few from the store that watch your program, so they might take this as a challenge if they know the store I'm talking about. I'm not going to obviously name drop or anything, but
yeah, of course.
Well, so we might, and if so, yeah, definitely.
if they want the heat that you got from chat to start, they can sure try.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be, full disclosure, I'm not trying to ruin anyone's day or make anyone out to be the bad guy or the villain. I just we, especially with all the kids that we get in at the store, we just want it to be a fun time. So if you bring, we're not going to hate you, and I mean, that's not our MO in Canada, as you guys are aware. But we don't want to ruin everything for everybody else, and we're not saying it will. We just don't want to, we don't upset the apple cart, as they might say.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah.
Is that a Canadian saying?
That might be one.
It might.
Upset the apple cart. I think I've heard that one before. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks for coming in, JR.
Thanks for having me, guys. Have a good one.
All right. You too.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. I guess like one thing I'd say on top of that, like, once again, like the biggest thing I wanted, like, I feel like people just get offended at the word cringe. I don't know why people are getting offended at the word cringe. Like, you can, yeah, no one's, like he said at the end there, if you bring, no one will actually hate you if you bring quad lax to a tournament. You're not a villain, but what you're doing is cringe, and that's fine. Both things can be true. You don't have to be hated. You don't have to be the villain, and you can still be cringe. It's crazy.
You can be cringe before you even, flip the card over.
Yeah. All right, so I'm not sure what Liam wants to talk about. Oh, Liam just left. I was gonna bring Liam in. He just
Mr.
disconnected.
Yapper himself.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna bring Liam in here. I want to talk about Pidgeot. I'm not sure what he wants to talk about with Pidgeot. I was gonna bring him in to the call, but he's gone. So I think we can move on to our next topic then, which is, I guess we could start with the leaks. Like, let me pull up Smart's Twitter here, but Gabe Smart has been leaking. Let's see. Leaking regional locations for, now these aren't confirmed leaks. Was there like another word I should be using? There's like reveal, leak,
speculation? Leaks, for sure, leaks.
Yeah, but the leak almost implies that it's like confirmed but not officially announced, but it's not official. Let me find the best tweet to look at here. Let's see. Somebody
ping him. Get him to call in. For real, though.
Talk about why he's leaking.
Yeah. What
do you think about that?
I have some questions.
What do you think about that? What do you think about just like? Well, obviously it's not necessary, right? And this is like one of those situations too, where it's like, okay, maybe if it was like 2 weeks before the season starts, or maybe even a month before the season starts, no official announcement of tournaments. 2 weeks before the season starts, and then I would be like, okay, I don't really blame people trying to go out of their way to like figure out where the tournaments are and which one's happening first. But we're like, what, 3+ months away from the beginning of the season? Theoretically, based on the leaks from Smart, the first tournament happens. I'm trying to find it now because he got so many tweets about this. I think the first one was like in September or something. Okay, this is the tweet I was looking for here.
Yeah, I got the list of them. I don't have the dates.
Yeah, I don't. I think he's just like started leaking dates this week or something. But yeah, he said, "Fine, I'ma leak it," which led to some pretty good memes of other stuff people said. And then Baltimore, Louisville. How do you say Louisville, right?
Louisville,
Portland, San Antonio, Orlando, Madison, Toronto, Vancouver.
I have a comment to start. He said, "Fine, I'ma leak it." Just say "finna leak it," right? Isn't that the contraction? I believe. I don't know. I'm not up to date.
Fine, I'm a leak it. Sounds like he was being pressed to leak it, and he's like, "All right, fine, now I'll do it." Finna is like
finna leak it. Yeah, popping off with it.
But that means you want to do it though. You're not being pressed.
Who's attacking him for the leaks?
I don't know. It could be in the DMs. Stuff could be going down the DMs. Like, all right, Smart. When you leaking the dates or leaking the locations? And I guess it started from Tate. Actually, Tate was the first one to make the post. Baltimore, September 14th. Louisville, end of September. So I guess Baltimore's like 3 months away then, right? Am I doing my maths right on this?
I have the dates for the. It was 17th of September was the regional Baltimore to kick off the 22-23 season. So September would be about right for the first regional.
Yeah. Hang on.
Fine, I'll leak it.
Fine, I'll leak it. Let me do it like this, actually. Let me get rid of... Okay, cool. So yeah, Tate initially started leaking locations and dates actually to go with it, actually. Baltimore looking like it's going to maybe be the first regional. And like, I mean, I don't want to say this is confirmed, but this is like, if they are just calling up convention centers and the convention center is like, yeah, there's a big Pokemon tournament happening on this date, like, I wouldn't go out of my way to start booking hotels and flights, but like, it seems like they're on track, right?
Well, the big one was San Antonio being on the calendar on their web. Like,
yeah,
if anyone's seen anything, if you look at a convention center calendar, you'll never see a Pokemon event. So for them to actually have it on there is probably pretty reputable. And this pissed me off because I went through the first three on the list, Baltimore, Louisville, and whatever the third one was, and gave up right before San Antonio. So I could have got the clout from tweeting that.
You were going to like the convention center calendar and looking for...
Yeah. That was brutal to see that, but good dates for San Antonio, honestly. After the holiday season, when it's like perfect weather down there.
Yeah. So this came up, and of course, there's always been some cities in the past, and actually some cities not in the past, but even current cities, where people like the discussion around the cities is like, should Pokemon be tournaments held in these cities? Because people are afraid of the cities like being too dangerous, right? Like that's basically the constant topic that gets brought up every year around some cities where tournaments are held. And of course, there's always the Peoria controversy, but that's just because nobody likes Peoria, and nobody wants to go back to Peoria.
It sucks.
It was funny because in the comment section of last week's episode, you got so much heat for shitting on Columbus.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny because the Midwest is not a very good location. Like it's just not.
Well, first, I'd like to say Ohio is not Midwest.
What is it?
I mean, I'd call it a lake state. I mean, they're in the Eastern time zone. Like, how can you call yourself Midwest and not be in Central time zone?
Isn't Indianapolis in the Eastern time zone as well?
I think it flip-flops. Maybe they don't do daylight savings or something.
Like I think the bottom left corner of Indianapolis is in Central time zone.
Okay, we'll count that.
Like very small though. Like it's not, I say bottom left, but it's not like a quarter. It's like 15th of Indianapolis is in the Midwest or the.
As an ambassador of the Midwest, we're not accepting Ohio. We're rejecting you. And I do have to apologize to the commenter and the people of Columbus. I'm sorry that you have to live there. Your city sucks. Okay, deal with it. You can move.
It's just frustrations, bro. They're venting their frustrations at you
Yeah,
from living in
I'll take
Ohio.
it. I feed off of that.
It's kind of funny how like, I mean, yeah, I don't want to go back to Columbus. I mean, the thing is, like, if you don't live in a city, it's like we're traveling for tournaments. Like, we get that first impression, we get that weekend. Like, obviously, if you live in a city, you'll know things about the city that are like, you know, to you can always find something to do, or you know where to go. But someone who shows up for, like, as people who are traveling to cities for the first time, you want to just be able to, like, you just want it to be there. You know what I'm saying? You want to be obvious. You don't have to you want to have to work as little as possible to, like, find the good spots and stuff like that. And the thing is, stuff like Ohio, Indianapolis, they don't have many good. Like, it's not that obvious where to find those good spots, you know. So that's why we chalk them up. They're just like worse locations than others.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Like, okay, we're hating on Columbus. I'm sure it's a great city. You know, I'm sure there's a great strip mall with a Walmart anchor and a McDonald's outlot, and it's fun to hang out there. But what we're talking about when we talk about these cities, it's by the convention center. You don't have to take a $20 Uber. When you go out, you're meeting your friends. That's normally like maybe could be up 6, 8, 10 people. You need restaurants around you. That, you know, that's 2 Ubers to drive away from the convention center. That's costly. People are on a budget. We're looking for lots of spots, good culture for the city, getting to see what the city really is, and not just, you know, Columbus. Essentially, Columbus is the base. Or, you know, we'll put, okay, to be fair, we'll put Columbus as just mid.
Yeah,
right?
I thought the worst location.
Yeah, Peoria's terrible. Columbus mid.
But we have like a ton of great locations. Like, I feel like Vancouver's great, Toronto's great, Madison's. Have you been to Madison before? You haven't been to Madison yet, right?
I haven't been for Pokemon,
Not for
but
Pokemon,
I've been to Madison. Yeah.
Madison's great. San Antonio's great. What are some other ones that are like?
San Diego is awesome.
San Diego's good. And then you got the like Indianapolis, Columbus, Yeah, Peoria, obviously, bottom of everyone's tier list.
Yeah, Fresno sucked.
Orlando, honestly, is kind of
the worst.
It's kind of Orlando's not that great either because it's like
you have to drive.
There's no city. You're not like in a location. You're right. You're not just somewhere where you can go walk somewhere. Honestly, New Orleans was super sick. Also, speaking of, you weren't playing then. When we had Worlds in Memphis or the one that Nashville. Were you there? You weren't there, were you?
No, I wasn't there.
Yeah,
no.
Nashville was super sick. There was like the strip with all the bars.
Broadway Street.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Broadway Street. Yeah, like Nashville was super sick as well. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it's just like there's like the good ones are like the New Orleans, like the Nashvilles, and then there's the bad ones where it feels like Orlando, where it's like everything is super spread out, super far away. You have to like Uber everywhere multiple times to get from location to location. I guess before we jump into like the more heated topic about this, start off on maybe a little bit of a lighter note, would just be let's create our own 9, because
I like this.
Smart said so. There's these that Smart brought up. There's these 8, and then he said there's one more. So someone replied to Derek Davis. Only 8 NA. They said 8 NA Masters. I assume they meant regionals. And then Smart replied, "There's a 9th. I don't know the location." So Smart saying there's 9 regionals. I noticed that. These are the current 8. I don't know where the other one would be. I noticed there's not a California one though.
Yeah, it's got to be California.
But there is Portland and Vancouver. So if we are going down to 9 locations,
it should be 333, right?
That's what
because it was 4 West. Was it 4 West Coast?
Well, I guess that would line up, right? That would line up.
Yeah.
So we probably are missing California.
It feels so weird to take away like one regional. So maybe there's
what do you think about that first?
What Lesage said. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, yes, Lesage kind of said the same thing too, that there's going to be less, right?
And they're all run by day 2.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about just less regionals?
I think it's a bad idea.
All being run by day 2 is a good thing. I would be down for that. Like, that sounds sick. They're the best for sure.
I mean, as we know, and I've said it so many times, that these TOs are in it for the profit, right? They're in it. That's why we're in Peoria, and that's a day 2 event. Yeah. I don't like it. I think regionals should be more regionized.
What do you mean by that?
How you like the West Coast should be mostly West Coast people, not all the traveling people. More events means more opportunities for people to play. We've seen how many people go to their first regional still, and how big these things have got.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got the size numbers on all the events. I think one of my last tweets was like, wow, just looking at the numbers from LA and NAIC, it's like staggering to where we were. You know, those are both over 2,000 people, and 2,000 people for a West Coast regional.
So you're almost saying you would like the idea that some people brought up of maybe multiple regionals on the same weekend, even to the point where it's like one in each of the major regions.
Absolutely.
On the same weekend at the same time. I feel like that, my biggest thing is like, I feel like that, so one of the things I want to see the Pokemon game head towards is more of advertising in like an esports type model where the competitions are marketed to be bigger. I feel like that you can't do that. You can't have 3 regionals on the same weekend and then try and make them all as big as possible. I don't even know if they would be able to stream all 3 at the same time. Like,
Azul, they don't even stream the first 3 rounds.
Well, yeah, that's true. But are they going to stream
They don't
3
care.
regionals on the same weekend?
Well, they don't stream Australia regionals. It takes a grassroots efforts for the
You're not wrong,
LATAM regionals, and they don't stream all the rounds of our regionals. Like what Limitless does. Before they got taken over, they streamed all 9 rounds. Shout out to Limitless again, obviously. It's just, you know, they have no incentive to do that. They only do it for the internationals and worlds, and they took away an international. Like, they say less.
Yeah. That's definitely interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like the idea of that because I want the regionals themselves to be like bigger and more special. I will bring up Eliza made a comment in chat while we're here. I heard through the grapevine from a source I trust only half of Smart's list is right, but they confirmed 9 regionals all by day 2. So now we've heard like 3 different sources say 9 regionals all by day 2. So that feels, I don't know, that feels like it's almost solidified at that point. So it feels like we're not going more events, right? We're going less events. So,
Bigger's not always better.
That's true. That's what I'm saying. Well,
you know,
the
that's
events are going to be
my,
bigger.
Yeah, that's my take. It's just they're so, they don't know how to set up the tables. That's the problem for a TCG. They don't know how to set up the convention space to be traffic friendly, and it's just kind of a cluster every time you get in there, and they get bigger and bigger and just worse and worse.
That is true. I do agree with that. Like, it would be like nice to see a little bit more optimization in the hall to get things flowing better. Also, if we could report our match results on our phone.
Oh, that'd be epic. That's the winner of the takeaway from the episode. We see it in Japan immediately. As soon as the game's over, they're on their phone.
That was funny. Someone made a comment of that. It's like they thought it was like a weird like cultural thing that they were like going on their phone to like, I don't know, tweet about their results. It's like, no, they're reporting their match on their phone, which is cooler. That's super cool. But hopefully that's got to be on the list for if we continue with RK9 next year. That's got to be on the list, right?
They make us. Yeah, you have to be signed. Well, you don't have to, but you're supposed to be on RK9 to get your pairings.
Yeah.
And you know the Wi-Fi never works, so you have to find a judge, and they have to pull it up on their phone. Like, well, I hope their phone works.
Yeah. All right, so let's build out our like perfect 10 or perfect 9, I guess. Perfect 9 cities, and let's region lock it. So 3 Midwest, 3 East, 3 West Coast. Let's start with the East Coast. What would be so currently from what we see from Smart's list? It was what, Toronto, Orlando, and Baltimore. I think we both agree. Not a big fan of Orlando. Nope. I thought Baltimore was that 2 years ago now. I thought Baltimore was fine. It was kind of like whatever. It was bad. The venue was bad because we were in the bunker. We were like down.
That too, and it was hot.
Yeah, it was hot. But like, was that their only hall?
No, it's a huge convention center. It was
okay. If they get us out of the bunker, I'm down to go back. But just don't put us in like the bunker.
I'm gonna use my veto on that one. we can talk about it all later. But I'm gonna use my veto on Baltimore. I thought the area just sucked. The restaurants closed early, and the food wasn't good. And I know, I'm gonna catch heat for that. It's like, well, go get some crab. Like, okay, well, I'm here for 2.5 days to play Pokemon. Is there a restaurant by the convention center that I can eat at, please?
Yeah. What would you actually? Honestly, I wouldn't mind because we did have Boston Worlds I think if we, yeah, I wouldn't mind going to Boston because I mean
I'm all
I'm
right with
from
that.
Boston. Like thinking about it in terms of cities that have like, that cultural feel and everything's right there in Boston. I wouldn't mind us going to Boston for a regional.
I'm okay with that. I think Boston is a city. Boston. Here we go already. Code switching to Boston. I think as a city, as the greater metro area sucks. It's a terrible city to travel through. But there is culture and there's a lot of good food there.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that. And also the player base. It's a huge nexus of a ton
Yeah.
of players and easy to get to drive for all of New England.
Yeah, like from like New York, Jersey, Connecticut, like all those areas, New Hampshire.
The one player in Maine.
The one player in Maine. Yep.
Yeah.
I actually know
think
two. I personally know two players in Maine, so I can confirm there's two. All right. What about All right. So if we do away, neither of us liked Orlando very much, right?
Nope.
Is there what would be the next best place to put it in Florida? Do you think? Because I actually don't have that much experience with Florida in general. I don't know
If
if
we're
you
gonna
do.
stick to this theme of bad travel cities, but a lot of culture, I'd go to Miami.
Yeah, but is that like do you think we'd ever go to? Well, I think Worlds has maybe been in Miami once. I actually want to say.
Really?
But I was gonna say Miami's kind of like known as like a party. I mean, it's not Vegas, but like a party city, right? Like that's
They open all night. Yeah.
yeah. Is that something you think Pokemon would avoid because of that, or no? Because I don't think we're ever going to Vegas because Vegas is Vegas and Pokemon is Pokemon. But does Miami fit that criteria well enough that we wouldn't go there because of that as well?
I don't know. That's the weird thing. You bring it up with Vegas. Like, why aren't we having events in Vegas? The cheapest flights to get to.
Yeah, it's really
A
cheap.
totally different cultural setting, restaurants, entertainment. Like, you don't want to spend more than 3 days in Vegas, so it fits perfectly. There's a ton of stuff off the strip if you do want to leave the strip, but every casino has a convention center, a massive convention center, so you're fine. Like, you can't really walk the city. That's the problem. So you're kind of landlocked to the casino or one or two next to you. But Miami would be more driving. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to take Miami off the table.
All right.
And I'm going to offer Atlanta.
Okay. I don't think I've been to Atlanta. Has there ever been an event in Atlanta? I don't think I've like flown through Atlanta multiple times, but I'm down.
They just had Lorcana there. I haven't heard bad feedback from it, but it is extremely easy to access, and a ton of culture and good food all over the place. Huge airport. Terrible airport, but huge airport.
It's huge.
There's I think there's Is there a Shake Shack
In the airport?
Yeah,
I think there is.
Not a is it in Atlanta? It's a Delta hub. Most of the Deltas have Shake Shack.
They got the inn.
I will say this: the Centurion Lounge is in the International. I think it's an E, and it is packed to the gills. So it's actually one of the few places that you go to a Delta lounge over the Centurion, because there's like 40 of them, and so you're not just like stacked up and waiting in lines. So I'll offer Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm down for that. I'd be down for that. I've never really experienced Atlanta like that, so I'm down to go. Personally, I'm like down to go to like any city I haven't experienced or any city that I know is better than like a current city. I will correct myself. Yeah, there was never a Worlds in Hawaii, but there was Orlando, I think, twice. It looked like I just checked. Okay, so let's make our way to the Midwest. According to this list from Smart, there's San Antonio, Madison, and Louisville. Is there any of those that you would want to remove?
Louisville.
Okay, because I was gonna say I like Madison and San Antonio.
Yep, I'm okay with those.
All right, so where do we go if we're not going to Louisville? Where do we should head?
Midwest. Let's see. Of the places we've had, nothing really stands out. We can't do Milwaukee, obviously, because there's Madison.
Yep.
You know what? I think I'm going to stick on the easy to get to place, cheap and easy. I see Minneapolis. Yes, I would love that there, but I'm going to go with Chicago.
Okay. That's also another city, even though I lived not that far from it when I lived in Indianapolis. I never really experienced Chicago. So that's like another city where it's a big city. I've never experienced it though, so I would be down with that as well.
Yeah, great city, food city. I see some comments. Denver. That's not Midwest.
I think Denver's not doable anymore because of their gambling laws. I'm pretty sure it
I don't.
conflicts with VGC because we had one Denver regional, but there was no VGC. It was just TCG. And
That's
then-
weird.
I think that's what people have brought up before, and I think that is true. I don't think we can go to Denver anymore.
Well, the people also said you can't stream the first 3 rounds because of union,
But that's not true.
labor laws. Not
That's
true.
not
It's
true.
just a
Where did
rumor
that-
that gets spread.
Where did that come from?
Twitch chat.
But that's can't ever be a thing. That's why overtime exists. Like,
Right.
It just depends if Pokemon wants to pay more money. Like maybe, I mean, I guess maybe the law is at a certain point you have to pay more money, and that's what they're referencing. And then like people just stopped, like people like, you know, it was like Game of Telephone. It's like, oh, at a certain amount of time they have to pay so much more money, so they probably just don't want to pay the extra money. And then it just developed into at a certain amount of time they can't work anymore. Like,
Yeah. Is it just post COVID that all the NA was Pokemon Run?
That's a good question. They did stream the last regional pre-COVID. Yeah, so yeah, but that season as well, there was some that were streamed not by Pokemon. There's still grassroots stuff going on. So yeah, it is just post-COVID where Pokemon fully took over. I want to say like back in like, no, maybe not. I don't remember the first regional they streamed. Yeah, post-COVID is like when Pokemon fully took over all the streaming stuff. But I mean, now they've taken over all of North America. Now they've taken over Europe. Latin America's got to be next on their list, I assume.
Okay, so we've got the Midwest. We only have the two for the East.
For the West. Yeah.
Well, I still want to put in a Midwest or a mountain at least, and I'm gonna offer up as an alternative Omaha. It is an event city. It doesn't have any culture though, so I'm gonna take it off the board. See, I can be critical of my own. Okay, guys, chill out, Columbus. Yeah, and obviously, I see Phoenix in the chat. That also would be great for me. I'm going to take Phoenix off because I think Salt Lake City's pretty great.
Salt Lake City is great. I like going to Salt Lake City. Everything's right there, or it's just like you can take the train. There's like the train that runs up the city away from the convention center, or the convention center that we've used in the past. It's all there. You could like walk down there even from the hotel area. I'm down for Salt Lake City. And then what do you think about, are we keeping Portland and Vancouver? I honestly am down to get rid of Portland. I like Vancouver though.
Yeah, get rid of Portland.
Yeah, I'm down.
You guys in the Washington, Portland people will be like, well, no, we love it because it's a 2-hour drive. Okay, you get Vancouver. Okay, you get one.
Far. Yeah, I know. They're like right. They're both like right there.
Yeah. And then I'm adding San Diego.
I think that is
the California.
That's I think my favorite as well for a location in California, San Diego. That's probably my favorite city in California. I think San Diego, definitely the top for sure. All right, well, we came up with our.
It's that easy, Pokemon and TOs or TO now, I guess 1.
Yeah, that's our hopeful cities, and either Smart's list is maybe correct. Eliza in chat said that only half of the list is correct from a source.
Which half?
Well, hopefully it's the ones we mentioned.
Yeah, we know San Antonio is essentially confirmed from the event calendar.
Yeah, so which I'm happy with. I'm down to go back to San Antonio. I didn't get to really explore much of the city at all last time, and also the only place I went to get barbecue food was the worst place I've ever gotten barbecue food before. It was actually terrible. It was insane.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we went to the Ruth's Chris at the hotel there on the Riverwalk, and it was terrible. But that area, is so touristy, but at least like there's things to do and it's unique, right?
Yeah.
It's cool. It's different. Like unlike Fresno, which is just a blanket, right? And there's nothing there. It's flat and weird.
Fresno?
So
yeah.
So it's like, at least you get some life to it. There are some good, in chat. Ruth's Chris at San Antonio. They didn't have, no one was working then. They ran out of half the food. Ruth's Chris normally in cities is pretty decent. If we're doing a chain steak, we'll put it up at A or B, somewhere in there. But yeah, I mean, it was touristy, and that's the time of year too, right? It was December, so you're going to be packed full of tourists. But there's some good food. I've been to San Antonio multiple times. Decent city outside of just that area, but at least having things around is such a game changer, right?
Yeah, definitely. For sure. All right. Well, we've constructed our optimal 9 locations. Um, but the big topic that came out of, I guess, it being brought to light, the potential cities that these regionals might be ran at, was a question of, uh, should we be going to some of these cities, right? I guess like the topic that people like bring up about some of these locations year after year, some of these locations are always brought to light on this, is just like the safety of the city. I'm doing the air quotation marks, but no one can see it because my camera's not on stream. Or if some cities are too dangerous or not. I mean, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts when you see Pokemon players complain about the safety of, I guess, an average city in the United States?
Yeah, I think it all started with you could probably pull it up, the Josh Cohen tweet with the meme of the 2025 sneak peek, where it was basically crime-ridden cities, high crime rate cities that also happen to be a majority Black African American people, and it started a lot of discourse.
I guess I didn't really think too much. I saw this tweet from Josh Cohen. I didn't really think too much of it when I saw it, but when I had people kind of like break it down a little bit more and like give their full thoughts on it, I was like, okay, I can get how this kind of tweet can be. At first I didn't feel. You felt safe in Brazil? Yeah, I felt fine in Brazil. Like Brazil is not like, I don't know. People bring up like Brazil, right, as being like high crime, unsafe location, but I've never felt. I don't. It's just another city to me. It's just literally another city to me. Like,
and I only did the North American because it's stuff we know, and I didn't want to bring the heat from the Brazilians, although it's probably good content and engagement. But I've been to Brazil one time for LAIC, and I had a great time, and I never felt unsafe at any point. But I think it brings up the bigger thing, like you pointed out. People that, as we said earlier, the game is growing at such a pace. A lot of these regionals are people's first, events,
first travel
outside the city. Yeah, first travel, first big travel, and so it the safety, what the crimes that are probably happening around are typically muggings, robbery, right? And if you're a tourist, you're a target.
Yeah, that's what I've said before too. Like, you hear about Pokemon players, getting their phones swiped or hats swiped in London or Latin America, but it's not like inherently because those places are more dangerous. Or I guess I will say, like, the one thing that exists, in so I guess Sao Paulo is the only city I've experienced in Brazil. But then in London as well, there's like they'll ride by on their like scooter or their bike, their electric bike or whatever, and like swipe your phone out of your hand. Like that doesn't really exist in America, I guess. Like I've never seen that happen in America before. So that does exist, but it doesn't mean someone's not gonna try and mug you in America either. Like, and it is tourists, right? You're being targeted because you're a tourist, because you look like a tourist, not because these places are inherently unsafe. And one of my conclusions after talking with someone was like, I feel like if you don't want to go to some of these locations because you think that they're unsafe cities, I struggle with this too because I don't know how to because I don't feel that way and I don't think people should feel that way, but it's hard for me to like articulate my words to like try and convince them of that. But basically they can't convince me why they feel unsafe either. So like my end discussion with someone recently was just like, honestly, it sounds like you are not ready to leave your small town, where you're comfortable. If you feel unsafe going to those locations, you probably just shouldn't go to these locations if it's that big of a deal for you.
That was Mahone Street, right? If you're too afraid to travel to an average U.S. city to play Pokemon cards, just stay home.
Yeah, maybe find a new hobby, one that lets you stay inside and never experience anything different than what you're accustomed to. Maybe it is just like Mello said, kids from the suburbs. Is it a little bit of a culture shock? I guess that's definitely part of it. I feel like.
Yeah, and especially, okay, we can bring race into it, I guess, in this sense. Like if you go to a black city, that's culturally different than what you grew up out in the farms. Like what a culture shock, and you think that everyone's bad because that's what you've heard. and it's not
Yeah.
true. It's just you're acting like a weirdo walking down the street, holding your phone out and with your wallet sitting in the back pocket, like you're a target. Okay.
Yeah, you're being targeted because you look like a tourist.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the city, and that is like true to like all cities, though, right?
Yeah.
Like also, there's higher crime in a big city than a small town, right? And it's not to say like we want people to get robbed. It's just like that kind of is like the reality of the situation, and like a Pokemon event is just not going to be any different than any other thing that happens in
Right.
life at a location. Like if we're going to a location or like things that exist in these locations, like a Pokemon tournament isn't. I've been saying this a lot recently, actually. Like Pokemon is not here to solve the great equalities of the human race. Like it's a card game that has big tournaments. It's a big function that's happening in some fairly big cities or some of the biggest cities in the world. And like it's just a different environment than your small town. Any city can be dangerous. If you look for trouble, you'll find it, but always got to be aware of your surroundings, regardless of the city. I agree. Yeah, you should be. It definitely is going to be a little bit of a different than whatever hometown you're from, whatever little hometown you're from.
And that's the beauty of the game. That's why we're saying like why New Orleans was such a success, because we get to see a different part of the country, and it has culture. And a lot of people, you don't go there normally except for like a bachelor party or work. Right.
Yeah.
So a great experience. And we want to see that broadened out more. But yeah, you have to be smart. One of the things I remember they always told you or whatever, like when you go to Europe, and I'm not going to Europe shame either, but it's like keep your passport. Like they have like the pouches inside your shirt, on your body to keep your phone and your passport and stuff. Because like you get pickpocketed. Well, that'll happen anywhere. But it's like, there's no education for traveling inside the country. Just,
that is true. I never thought about
fears
that.
of crime and things like that. It's like just common sense is your best friend in this case. Like, what would you do at home? Like, you see a group of people on the street at 2 a.m. cross the street.
Yeah.
It's like common sense, like.
Mahone's like follow up to his own tweet was people acting like anyone who has ever gone to a Ravens game is risking their life. GMAFB. What does that mean? Does anyone know in chat what that abbreviation means? GMAFB and quit being racist. I don't think.
Good morning and fine breakfast.
Give me a fucking break. Give me a fucking break and quit being racist. He had extra characters to work with here. Why did he just type it out? I've never heard that one before. I've never heard that abbreviation before.
And don't you not put the A in there normally? Like.
Is that how you work? Is that how it works for abbreviations? You don't usually use the.
When they get that long, you take the A's and the T's out.
Oh, do you really?
The and the articles.
I'm trying to think of like
It's a lot.
Abbreviation to compare it to, but I can't actually.
Yeah, me either.
Give me a fucking break and quit being racist. I think a lot of people's, especially like the people I've talked to and kind of like pushed them on the subject, and like, all right, just like let's have like a more of a conversation out of this than like you just saying. We shouldn't go to some of these locations. And Baltimore, I guess, has like been a big one, right? Like last season, this season, where people have brought up is like Baltimore's been a big one that people have brought up of like a more dangerous city that we shouldn't have Pokemon tournaments in. I don't think anyone who I've had that conversation with is like actually racist. I think they're just misinformed, and I think it is just like the culture shock like is reinforcing the things they've heard, right? So yeah, the misinformed and then the culture shock is it mentally reinforces the things they've heard, but they just you got to break out of that. And like just to have that understanding that cities are cities.
Yeah, I think
some of them are actually Doom said in chat, some of them are actually racist, of course, but I think when I say I think the vast majority of people who have like who make some of the statements they aren't like, of course there will be some people who are genuinely racist, but like I feel like it's not a good thing to just like kind of blanket be like anyone who says we shouldn't go to Baltimore because their thought process is they think there's too much crime. They're not all racist, right?
Yeah, this is a correlation is not causation in this case.
I'm sure there are some people who are.
Yes,
but
it's got the highest black population and the highest crime rate of the places we've been to, but people, it's the piggybacking that gives it like amplifies the voice of it that makes people think that everyone is racist by saying they don't want to go to Baltimore. It's just a bad venue.
Yeah, the bad.
That's
Yeah, get us
That's
out of the basement,
yeah.
and then like as long as there's other space like to put us. That's like that's the bad. My only bad takeaway from Baltimore was, dude, it's hot, and you've got us in this thing that looks like a bunker.
Yeah,
It's
and you had
hot.
to walk all the way around through the
Yeah.
entire building. So you saw the whole building just to get down to the bunker.
Yeah. And also, like, you were right. There really wasn't any like food locations open up late. Like, you got out, and there was kind of like nothing after the end of days. Yeah, That's why I don't want to go back to Baltimore, because they put us in the basement, and it was really hot down there. Here's another tweet from Christopher Szymanski. Just kind of go through some of these, I guess, here that you linked. Well, we'll see what rumors check in the end, but a whole lot of y'all telling on yourselves with the idea of bad regional city. You should be some level of aware and paying attention in any large city around the world. Yep, some better, some worse. But some of these takes, yeah, some better, some worse. But I don't think any major city in America, in terms of crime, is a reason to not have a Pokemon tournament there, right? There's other reasons that Pokemon probably doesn't want to have a tournament in Las Vegas, right? And that's maybe the only reason. I think those are the only reasons that should really apply. Some locations are better. None of the reasons should be like crime related. They should all be like, well, Peoria sucks because it's a bad location where there's no food. The airport's terrible. Baltimore sucks because they put us in a bunker, no food at the end of the day. Those are reasons to not go to locations.
Yeah, Vegas sucks because of strippers and cocaine. God forbid.
Yep. I guess that doesn't suck for everyone. That only sucks for Pikachu.
The Vegas would be great. There's if you think about it this way, Orlando and Vegas are the two big tourist cities, right? So you get cheap flights. Everyone should be rooting for Vegas as a replacement to Orlando. At least you can get your $30 Frontier flight. You can pay $50 to actually carry a bag with you and sit on a wooden park bench on a plane, but it's $30.
Yeah.
And they have flights all day.
I mean, Vegas, yeah, airport wise, I mean, plenty of hotels. Also, Vegas is like really unique. I've been there once, and it's unique. It's like kind of sad. Like sometimes you walk through some of the casino floors, and it's just like everyone's at their slot machine. But
with an oxygen tank.
Vegas is like a really unique city. I definitely want to experience it again. Tons of good food. The food there is like ridiculously good, for sure. So it's a cool city to experience. And if you enjoy gambling or whatever, there's lots of
They have it.
Shows, gambling.
The shows too. Yeah, we don't talk about that enough. The shows are huge.
Yeah.
Like if you've never seen Cirque du Soleil, it's crazy.
Do they perform there like consistently, or do they like make?
Yeah,
their
they
way?
have the residency there, but they have a traveling tour as well.
I gotta like make my way there eventually then to see that for sure.
Yeah, I know a great Korean barbecue place off the Strip too.
Yeah, but that would be like I would be down for Vegas. I just don't think they'll ever do it because everything that people think of when they think of Vegas, it doesn't really mesh with the family-friendly game that is Pokemon.
But the marketing, I mean, a World's there. Think of the World's merch, like
True.
all the iconic buildings, slot machine there. I could put that on there, but bright lights, it kind of sets itself up for it. And what was they had gambling in Pokemon. Someone chat, the first game.
Did they?
Is it Saffron City? Where was it?
What could you do?
They had gambling in the game corner. Yeah, they had gambling in Pokemon already. There we go. Problem solved. Vegas Worlds unlocked. Slots in VGC. Yeah, there was a slot machine, and you just play it. They had to remove it. That's crazy.
Oh, they removed it because of Europe, though.
That's so okay. Big knock on Europe again. Get soda. somebody times soda out just for being here. Yeah, and also Eliza had one replying to Szymanski. I hate Baltimore because I saw a naked person. Well, in NOLA at a cafe, a naked woman ran up and down the streets in the French Quarter. That's just cities, y'all. They also had a naked bike race.
Where?
That day in New Orleans.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, those are just things.
That's just life.
Yeah. I don't think that's a reason to not hold a tournament in those locations. I was looking through a couple more tweets here. See, I guess we'd like to take a look at these. I've been calling out Mello's statements in chat. Mello had a tweet. If the Pokemon community wants to be as inclusive as it claims, we need to stop with these dog whistles about U.S. cities. The way the discourse keeps going, my son isn't touching this game with a 10-foot full. This actually inspired me. Actually, Mello's tweet, I didn't actually know the actual definition of a dog whistle, so I actually looked it up because I was actually curious. And my understanding,
I also learned, yep.
Yeah, my understanding is that a dog whistle is when you say something about something in a way to get the general masses behind you, but you have ulterior motives for getting them behind your agenda. Okay, now I learned. I learned exactly what it is. 'Cause I never really knew what it was. I've heard the term be used before, but I didn't know the actual definition of it. And the response here from Michael, I'm glad it's becoming more popular to acknowledge that Pokemon players only cope and seethe over regionals and cities that have large black populations. Actually, that was your follow-up here. What are the demographics of New Orleans? And John Healy, 99% awesome, 1% bartenders that pretend to put alcohol in mixed drinks. Are they
Okay.
light-handed? Are they light-handed on pouring the drinks in New Orleans? I didn't know that. Is that a thing?
That's not what I heard.
That's not what you heard?
There's also an Uber driver that said, "This bar pours heavy. That bar pours heavy." I'm like, okay. It's like 2 drinks and you'll be out on the street naked. And that's probably why people are complaining about it.
Yeah. All right. Let me see. I'm trying to find if there's any other. What other tweets did you link here? I think I've gone through most of them. Did you have any other ones that you want to call out specifically?
Not necessarily. I mean, just sort of repeating what we've already got to. The Celio tweet. Yeah, some areas have more criminal activity than others. Yeah, I got that. But in his strategy, hotel room tournament, hotel room repeat.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that should be, necessarily the way it is. You're meeting up with friends, hopefully, and trying to have a good time on your 2 or 3 days off. A lot of people work and have to take those days off. So you're sacrificing income to go play Pokemon. You do want to see the city. And that's why, again, we're advocating for, better venues, better cities.
More things to do, more readily available. Yeah, I guess that is one of the things, some people are just different though. Some people just want to go back to the hotel lobby and play games or board games or whatever, which is fine.
Sure.
But I guess I don't know. I guess maybe Celio's tweet kind of reinforces the idea that you need to be ultra careful and shouldn't there's a guidelines between the convention center and your hotel. And if you go out of those, you could be in trouble, right?
Sure.
I definitely understand.
You don't see anything from Pokemon saying be safe in the city.
Yeah.
They don't want to say that because that would kind of fear bait.
They can't say that. That would be that means Pokemon's admitting that they're hosting an event in a dangerous location. So yeah, Pokemon will never say anything like that. But they don't need to either. There's no need for that to be said. Yeah.
That's why we're here. We're if you didn't know, traveling groups don't go out late at night. Know where you're going. That's a big one. Have it mapped out and walk it in your head. When I go to cities, before I go there, I do Google Street View and I walk the city. It's just fun too, as well.
That really is the big one. It's just don't be a dumbass past a certain hour. That's kind of all you really need to know. I feel for the most part.
If you felt afraid on Bourbon Street in the French Quarter in NOLA, you're being racist. That was Danny, aka Dialgabot. Okay, we kind of covered that.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much all I have on the topic. And no one wants to call in on this one.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough.
Yeah, I don't think so. But if anyone does, as always, if anyone's looking to call in throughout the show about this topic or a different topic, but I think that's all the major topics we had today. So if anyone's looking to call in or has a question for us, topic or question, join the Discord, leave it in the question channel, Leave it in the question channel in the Discord, or if you want to call in, leave what you want to call in about in the call-in question channel in the Discord. Just put !Yap cord to get the link to the Discord as well.
There's one more question. Do you want to say how much you spend on travel for the year?
I don't keep track of that stuff. Well, it's in my taxes somewhere, but I don't keep track of it like in like a spreadsheet that I see like a decent amount of players do. So that's not something that I keep track of. Spend on travel arrangements for tournaments, but I feel like they're almost asking like tournament to tournament. I'm trying to think of like what I think my average cost is. If I'm going to a Midwest or East Coast event, my flight is probably looking like $300 to $400, and then the hotel for like my setup with my group is only ever about like $120.
Okay, you guys split room? Like you guys are?
Yeah. You
pack them in like sardines. You got four dudes in a room, or what?
No, we don't have that. One of the people that I stay with regularly gets like a deal on hotels. So so that's what we got going on. So we're usually most of the time with that, like but the last couple of events I've had like my own bed. Like we're not going like 2 to a bed.
Four to a bed, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, like four people.
But dude, back in the day, bro, dude, it was ridiculous. I can't believe me and my groups used to like live like that. We would have like 8 people. Like I'd be staying in a hotel room. Sometimes I had like 8 people in like a hotel room with the 2 beds. Like it's just ridiculous, man.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's not for me.
Yeah,
I mean we're adults now.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of like what I like put out there to my group. It's like, all right, listen, I think we're older now. You know, we got more money. We can spend a little bit extra on the hotel rooms across the board, and you know, get our own beds and stuff like that. So that's been nice. Yeah, so that's probably my expenses. You know, someone in my group has a hotel hookup, so it's not as expensive there. So I'm looking at like $400 to $500 for flight and hotel. Like to a Midwest, East Coast. West Coast events are pretty cheap for me. Some of them I drive to, flights to like Portland and Vancouver. Vancouver wasn't that, it's like 170 or something like that.
That's crazy.
So, but food is the bigger. Sometimes I spend a lot on food. If there's some good places to go, get some good food, I'll spend a lot more. But sometimes it's like, you get there Friday night, you order in pizza Saturday night, and then I leave Sunday night. So I'm like, it's like protein bars and pizza, and that's it.
Yeah, I can't really relate on the numbers, but I do have because I'm flying from either Omaha or Phoenix.
Yeah.
So it's cheaper out of Phoenix, obviously. But I'll spend for the room, nicer room, closest hotel, and then food. It's, you know, if I'm going to go to a city or I want to go to nice places and spend a lot. So I can't really relate to anybody in chat. I want to be a person of the people, but can't really relate there, unfortunately. But I did want to bring up, you said it last week, I think it was on a stream, that you do your own taxes.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. That was just a fucking shocker. I was like, what the hell? Because you make money in all these different states. Like that's just time consuming, and time's money, right? It's only a couple hundred to get an accountant.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, that's something I've definitely thought about. I haven't had too big of a trouble with it. Like, I like set away a weekend, or like 2. It doesn't take me that long to do it. It's just like in March, usually like, I don't know, 6 to 8 hours, and then done with it. I can grind through it because I keep track of it pretty well. That's the thing, is I keep track of everything pretty well. So
that's good. Yeah,
it's pretty easy to plug things in at the end. I've got like a system down, and my system has improved. Now I have like one of those apps where you can like take pictures of receipts and then it like uploads it for you. So
nice. Yeah.
Before I would have to, like, when I got back from a trip, I'd have to like break things down, but now it's just like that much more straightforward. So it's not too bad.
Yeah, that was the shocker to me. But yeah, as long as the system, that's key. But also that 6 to 8 hours could be the substream. I don't know.
All right. Well, I think we're winding down here then. Someone did just put in the call-in elitism, if they want to bring up elitism. I don't know if you want to go, how much longer you want to go.
I can do whatever, but I don't know what that's such a broad.
Yeah.
We're talking about what we talked about earlier, elitism.
I don't know. Well, maybe we could bring it up next time. I did want to kind of try and play the late night tournament. So
absolutely.
Mario, next week, if you still wanted to bring up some topic of elitism and we can discuss that, we're down. But yeah, come next week because I'm gonna hop into the late night tournament after this. But yeah, any closing words before I say goodbye, Grant?
No, I thought that was a good one. Not a lot of topics, and that's great. We want less drama in the community.
Yeah.
But we're here and ready to get on everything. I reached out to Vito again. We were going to try and get him on. He ghosted me, so we're that's probably a dead end. Anyways, people that tweet just to stir up stuff. We saw it. We talked about it earlier. That's going to exist, but we're here to cover it.
Yeah, always here to cover it. All right, that was Yapping episode 2. We'll catch y'all next week if there's enough. I mean, it really is just kind of depends on how much drama there is. If there's enough drama, we'll see y'all next week. If not, we'll see you the week after.